Joining me on the podcast today is Matt Kaminer, the youngest person to qualify for the Ironman World Champs. Last year, while I was taking on the challenge of running the 76 marathons around the UK, Matt joined me in Bristol for one of the runs. I was captivated by his story and how he manages to balance his time despite having so many responsibilities. He had committed himself to one of the most demanding sports while simultaneously pursuing a medical degree at university. The big question for many is whether it's possible to achieve both goals at the same time. He is determined that it is. Matt has since earned his professional license and now represents South Africa at a professional level, while also getting closer to his other dream of becoming a qualified doctor. This episode is special because we witness a young adult showcasing and fulfilling his biggest dreams. Now, we get to join him on his journey, be part of it, and one day celebrate his successes. Guys, I'm incredibly proud to say that my first book, Fortune Favours the Brave, published by Penguin, is now in stores to purchase, or you can order your copy online. The book consists of 76 short lessons on finding strength in vulnerability. Adversity is something you will inevitably face in life. I wrote this book to share and showcase how to process that and what can come from it. Adversity is something we wish would never happen to us, but it does. I want you to understand, though, that it can inspire you to achieve incredible things, not just for yourself, but for others too. Everyone on this earth is born amazing at something. It is just a case of finding out what that is. Life is incredibly short and valuable, so make it count. You may find that you don't believe in your ability or fearful to test yourself. By the end of this book, I believe you will. To get yourself a copy now, it can be purchased at Waterstones, Amazon, or by simply clicking the link on my Instagram bio, Joshua_Patterson_JP now. Matty, welcome to the podcast, brother.
Hi there, welcome. Thanks for having me on.
Did you say welcome to me?
I don't know.
Is that the nerves?
There we go, yeah. First podcast, getting a bit nervous.
Bless you. How are you feeling?
Yeah, good. I mean, in my summer break now, away from medical school, and just getting my head down, training and getting ready for the next year.
Yeah, so to give you guys some context on who Matty is. So last year, when I was running the 76 marathons, when I was in Bristol, he came to join me with I think that was one of the largest group of runners I had during that experience. It was so incredibly special. And we got chatting, and he was this young 18-year-old lad who had basically done something pretty phenomenal. He was the youngest to qualify for the Ironman World Champs. So you were, I think it was just a month after your 18th birthday, right?
Yeah, exactly. So after my A-levels, I had about a week and a half, and I just turned 18 and did my first Ironman and managed to win my age group in that. So that was men's 18 to 24 and qualified for the World Champs.
And that, just to reiterate, that was your first Ironman?
First time. I mean, you have to be 18 to do an Ironman, so I wouldn't have had much leeway to get one in before then. But yeah, first one about a month after my A-levels.
And is that record still stand? Has anyone been able to top that? I mean, that's going to be quite difficult when you think you're a month after 18.
Yeah, I mean, so first of all, you've got to be 18 to do it. So anyone just after 18 has to be able to finish the Ironman and then be able to win the age group against people between the ages of 18 to 24. So it's pretty difficult. I'm not sure if it's been beaten yet, but at the time they told me that I was the youngest person to ever do it. So yeah, pretty exciting title to have.
It's pretty phenomenal when you actually think about that. I mean, I think what was incredibly special about your presence there is that it was a real motivation, I think, for me on that particular day and many days after that, when you can have those sorts of conversations. And I was very humbled that the work that I do had some level of impact, I guess, in some of the decisions that you made. But it's funny how I guess it was reciprocated. I think you had a really big impact on me, because I think there were many individuals from that challenge that I sort of like reflect on and think of quite regularly, and you were certainly one of them. And we kind of lost touch for a little bit, and I always wondered, where you'd ended up and if you'd continued to pursue the dream, because when you're at university, you can be so easily distracted. And again, I think what's phenomenal about Matty is that he's also studying for a medical degree. Now, in terms of the physical and the mental, I mean, I don't think it could really get tougher as a combination.
Yeah, I mean, not only one sport, but three sports, trying to compete at now a professional level, and then also trying to combine that with arguably the hardest degree out there. So I definitely didn't make my life easy.
It's
but
crazy. So, I mean, what is it that got you, I guess when you're taking on something like a medical degree, why would you decide to choose an event or events that arguably are one of the hardest to take on? Because the synergy between the two, it's not really there.
Well, I'd argue that a lot of people doing medicine are actually exceptional athletes, and a lot of people who have that personality, that type A personality, wants to do the best they can, will pick the hardest degree and will pick the hardest sports. And funnily enough, I went to a sports awards thing in Bristol, and 8 people were selected for end of year awards, and 4 of them were medics. And I think there's that kind of overlap with just the hardworking mentality, and kind of, I think medicine and triathlon and endurance sports go really well hand in hand.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, what was I guess, the big motivation for you to get into Ironmans?
So I've always been from quite a big sporty background, like was in a high football team for my school, playing a couple of years above, and I was a good cross-country runner as well. And then kind of COVID hit, and all of that was taken away. I went from playing football probably 7-8 times a week to not at all. And that's when kind of got into cycling and built up my running even more, and developed my swimming from pretty much a beginner swimmer to kind of be able to compete in local races, and then more national races, and then trying to pursue that further. Funnily enough, when COVID hit, I went for a job in my local area and managed to get a job in a bike shop, and it kind of went from there. Bought a bike through them, started cycling on the roads which were empty, and just like absolutely loved it. Like, COVID was a very difficult time for so many people, but I think it really gave me the opportunity to kind of explore and figure out what I really wanted to do with my time. I had a bit of a difficult period before mentally, as lots of teenagers do, and I kind of enabled me to find some passions that I really wanted to pursue, and cycling, running, swimming, and then triathlon, competing just took me by hold, and I loved it. Yeah.
When it comes to something like an Ironman, you are going to be faced with so many hurdles, and people will sometimes try to take that easy option, some not so much.
I think there's so much of endurance sport is in the mind. I mean, there's no hiding in Ironmans, there's no hiding in triathlons, there's no hiding in marathons, there's no hiding in long distance running. It's all in your head. And if you let your mindset slip, you give up in a race, you don't commit to the training, I mean, it's all going to slip. And I think the mindset, even more so than the physical ability, it will come along. That if you get the mindset right, your physical ability will develop alongside it.
You know, an Ironman or running a marathon or any form of running for that instance, or even cycling, to be honest with you, you know, it felt like it was something that kind of like when the boom started to happen, it was kind of like the mid-20s to early 20s, but you can really see it trickling down now, where I think thanks to things like Park Run, for instance, where you've got children as young as like 4, 5 and 6 getting invested into it too. Do you think it's just a case of like they've just made sport more accessible and relatable for, I guess, the future generation?
100%. I think people that we look up to now, I mean, before we may not have had people older than us inspiring us doing ultramarathons, things like people like you, but it's now ingrained in people going to university that there is an option to do sport and there is an option to pursue that. I mean, even in my house, I would say I'm the only one pursuing like high level sport, but I think 5 of the 10 people in my house ended up doing the Bristol half marathon 2 months ago. And I mean, it's just brilliant that both for their physical health, their mental health, and they all loved it. So it's really exciting that it's kind of not become something that you pursue. Ironman was normally something you pursue in your 40s and 50s, but now it's something that 30s, 20s, and even teenagers can now pursue and develop in. And I think it's just amazing for people's mental and physical health.
So, I mean, you're 20 years of age now, and you have your physical. I mean, you've qualified now. You've got your license as a professional Ironman runner, or athlete. Sorry. Why focus on the medical side of things when you have that in the bag already?
I love both. That's the weird thing. I have so much passion for triathlon and I have so much passion for medicine, and I love both. I got into medical school before I even really had pursued triathlon, and I'm kind of seeing them both as like a long-term thing. They work really well hand in hand. Obviously, I'd probably be a better Ironman athlete if I wasn't doing medicine, and I'd probably be, actually no, I'm doing all right in medical school, but I could maybe spend more time on the medical ward and stuff like that if I wasn't doing Ironman triathlon. But I think they work so well hand in hand. The Ironman training and the triathlon training serves as a physical endeavor, which gives me a mental break from the medical studies. And the medical studies serves as a physical break from the Ironman, where I can focus on something I'm really interested in, helping others and learning about biology and stuff like that. And they work really well hand in hand, just playing off each other.
Yeah, I was going to say, there are going to be some benefits of you understanding so much about your body. Does that give you an edge, I guess, moving forwards?
Definitely. I think when we're learning about physiology and muscle tears and recovery and stuff like that, I think there's a lot of overlap into my sports field. And equally, the psychology that you learn from being a medical student, I mean, we haven't had that much exposure on the wards, but when you do, you see patients who are going through so much. And I think it's a privilege that we get to go through that through sport. I think in a race or in a very difficult session, you're pushing yourself to the limits. You're technically destroying your body, but in a positive way, and you'll recover from it. But that mentality that it's a choice, you can stop, you can pull out at any point, is not the same for someone on the wards who is maybe suffering with a chronic disease or something like that. And I think something I think about when I am in a race, that it's a choice, and whatever anyone else is going through, I can go through this and put one more step in front of another.
I was going to say, I think when you're on that ward and you can kind of see what people are going through on a day-to-day basis, I guess it can give you such a greater appreciation of what you have and to really maximize the most of it.
100%.
And it's an incredible vice. I mean, you've got an awful lot of stress, potential anxiety, coursing through those bloody veins of yours because of what it is that you're subjected to. And actually, some may argue that you're applying more pressure to yourself by doing, the triathlons. But at the same time, I don't know. I just think the people that you're exposed to and just the different areas demographically that you get to travel to, like it's if you truly love it, like the way that we do, it's a bit of a pinch me thing where you're just like, I get to do the thing that I love.
100%. And I really am at the beginning of my professional triathlon career and my medical career. I'm at the bottom of the food chain of the medical career. I'll go into the wards and the consultants will just see me as a fly on the wall or whatever, and some of them will be really nice and help. But I'm at the bottom. Like, I've got to work my way up. And equally with triathlon, I mean, I've only had one professional race and that didn't even go too well, but I'm seeing it as a long-term thing. It's a 5-10 year plan. And I just love them both. At this point, I'm just trying to work with them both. There may be periods of time where I try to extend my medical degree, take a year out from medicine, or equally, I just get through medicine and then go back into triathlon. But at this point in time, I'm managing to make it work, and I'm seeing it as a long-term goal because I love every day of training and every day of medicine.
Tell me about this first professional race that you did. Why didn't it go well? Is that based on the lack of time that you had to invest within it, or was it just an education where ultimately the athletes that you were competing against were just substantial?
In all honesty, it was a bit of bad luck. So I came in with a little bit of an injury, and I was debating whether it was a running injury. It didn't affect my swimming and cycling, and I came into the race and I was like, I'm just going to give it a go. It kind of was the only race that worked in that time with my medical exams early June, and this was mid-May. So I turned up to the race and I was performing really well. I swam. As I said, I only really started swimming 4 years ago, so swimming is my weakness. But I swam really well. I came out of the pack 18th out of 32. I mean, these guys are professionals. I was very pleased to be in the race, sort of thing. Biked really well. So it's a 180 kilometer bike ride, and I was 175 kilometers in, and I got a massive puncture. Replaced the puncture, got back on, did a kilometer, and it went again. And by this time, I had lost all my spares. And so I found a marshal. They managed to get the professional bike services, basically the supports crew, and they called them. And at this point, they were on the other side of the island helping another professional athlete. So they said they could get to me in an hour. So by this time, I took 20 minutes to change the first puncture, 10 minutes to change the next. Well, I couldn't change the next. I mean, I was standing there, and they basically said, walk it in. So I put my bike over my shoulder. I couldn't really walk in cycling cleats. So I walked barefoot in whatever, it was 25 degrees now in Lanzarote. And I walked my bike back 5K. And by that point, I was probably an hour down on where I would have been. And I already had that bit of a run injury. So I decided there's no bravery in finishing this race. There's more races. I'll save my injury and stuff like that. So that race went pretty unfortunate. But I mean, I learned so much from it. I learned that my swim is at a good level and I can compete somewhat. My bike, I was doing quite well. I mean, I'd stayed pretty similar position, middle pack of the professional field, which is pretty amazing considering I'm trying to balance that around a medical degree as well. But I'm just trying to see the positives from that. I mean, I learned so much from it and the prep, and there's going to be so many more that I'm going to take those learnings from. Yeah,
100%. I think you've got the best attitude for that. I mean, even when you have days like that where everything goes against you, those are some of the best days to possibly have, because again, about gratitude, when you go into those days that just do work in your favor, you can appreciate them so much more when you've had those shitter days. And actually, you know, when it comes to something like a puncture, you're going to be so much more mindful of that. That's just something that you would never imagine that would possibly happen. For it to happen twice is pretty...
Always going to bring 2 tubes now.
Always, you know, and it's about that, you know, it's about, I guess, aspiring to achieve not the perfect race, but the best possible one you can achieve, right? This week's episode is sponsored by Runner. Runner is a personalized running coaching app helping runners of all abilities train for any goal. From a first 5K to a marathon, even an ultra marathon. When the time is right for you, your plan can be created within a minute and ready to go. With each plan, Runner provides all the help a runner requires, including strength and conditioning, and you can also reach out to the team at any time via the support tab inside the app. For a 2-week free trial on any personalized running plan, use the code PHOENIX. No matter your goal, Runner is there to help you achieve it. I just think when you look at your performances, I think you remind me a lot of, there was an athlete I actually met who's the same as you. I would say he's a semi-professional runner in the sense that he's not full-time. He's a radiologist and he does that part-time. And he did a race called UTMB in France, which is really, really recognised ultra. And he came 6th in his first, or I think it was his first or second 100-kilometre race.
Amazing.
Now, I said to him, you know, where do you think these other athletes have an advantage over you? And he said just one thing simple: time on legs. They get to run more than I do. If I match them when it comes to running, he was like, I reckon I could potentially hit top 3. And this is a guy that's really, really new into the sport. So again, similar to you, I think just his psychological state and the physical, he's a very, very naturally gifted athlete. And I think it's really exciting to see the future he has in store. I think when you look at the amount of time that you're investing into the medical practice, if you were to put your full focus into things like the swim and just the sport for that matter, it'd be fascinating to see what the outcome is.
And I do think there will be a time when that will be a case. I'm still improving at a very good rate. I'm still so much to learn. I mean, I'm only 4 years into properly swimming, and my cycling's coming along really well. My running's coming along really well. While I'm still improving and keep bettering myself and still trying to pursue medicine, I think I'm in an all right position. And then when I do fully commit to that triathlon, maybe go for a couple of years of professional after I finish my medical school, or maybe take a year out or 2 in the middle of my medical school, I'm just excited to see what will happen. I mean, as I said, I know where I'm at in the professional field. I know I'm not going to professional races to win. I was doing well in the age group fields, but I'm not going to professional races to win yet. I will get to that point. It's a long process. These guys have been doing it for a decade longer and don't have to go to medical school. It's really interesting what you said about time on legs. I think there's two factors there. The one is the training. Can't do as much training, but I think something that's kind of overlooked is the recovery. I mean, that's just as important. And a lot of people will try and do the same amount of training. I will try and do those 25, 30-hour weeks that professional triathletes are doing, but spending the rest of their day commuting into work, even sitting at a desk, not getting enough sleep. That's just equally as important. And I think adjusting my training to that, I know I can't fit in 30 hours a week that the pros are doing, still recover, still do well in medicine. So I'm making the most of the 15 to 20 hours I do have, and making sure that every session is key. Even if it is a recovery session, every session is really important. So just making the most of the time you do have and being realistic with what you can commit to it is how you can make the most out of that situation.
If you look at the lifestyle of these individuals, you know, all these Hoka athletes that I was with for this trip in Chamonix, you know, the majority of them were all at kind of like the Hoka training camp. You know, they basically hire out 4 chalets next to one another. They've got a swimming pool, training facilities. They've got an in-house chef cooking for them 3 times a day after every run. They don't need to. They don't want for nothing. Basically, they are absolutely set. And so I guess it's great that you are being realistic about what's achievable right now. And so, you know, trying to hit that podium, it's not a case of it's impossible. Of course you can. But I think it's great that you've got a very healthy approach to it, where right now it's more about learning and improving as an athlete, and race by race, you will eventually get there. And then I guess once you have more time to focus primarily on it, that's when you'll become the formidable force that you believe you can be.
Yeah, it's exciting to see, to think about what is possible, and I just can't wait to give that a go at some point in my life. I mean, it's so unpredictable. I don't know what's going to happen. I could be in an awful bike crash, God forbid, or I could have a really bad injury, and triathlon may not be there, but I have the most amazing backup in the world, which is to be a doctor. And I love the idea of me being a doctor as well. And the dream is to kind of get both done. so do a couple of years, maybe a decade even in professional sport, and then maybe go into medicine and try and go into like sports medicine and see if I can make an impact either in triathlon, cycling, Tour de France, anything like that as a sports medicine doctor. That's kind of the long-term goal.
It's going to be really interesting to see in terms of location, what the race is, the demographic that you're going to be competing against in order for you to achieve that race. Even questions like, do you think that you perform better when you're more local, or do you find there's maybe a certain climate internationally that works more in your favour?
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, I've only really had the opportunity to race once internationally with my professional license, and that was Lanzarote, which we've spoken about. There was just so many more factors involved. I mean, beauty...
Did the heat work in your favour against you?
I'm quite a light athlete, especially in the Ironman world, so I do work all right in the heat. I mean, there's guys that work better and live in warmer environments and climates, so they may be more heat acclimatized. I mean, I had to go through some brutal heat acclimation, so like a turbo trainer, you put your bike on an indoor bike. I mean, I'm in my uni room, windows closed, fan off, 5 layers, and I'm doing like 3 hours on the bike in the time trial position. I mean, that was not fun. Or going out on runs, because obviously April, when I'm in peak training for Lanzarote in May, it's very different temperatures. So I'd have to go out on runs with coats and stuff. So it brings a whole new factor in, but it's something you've got to adapt to, because if I want to, and I do want to, become an international professional athlete who can race big races anywhere, regardless of jet lag or heat or anything like that. I mean, UK, you could be in a rainstorm, but it's something you've got to adapt to, and it's part of the sport. Do you know what I mean? Yeah.
We hosted quite recently the Mental Health Marathon with Runner, and I remember the first year it was pretty conclusive where the community was at in terms of their investment. The 5K was the most obvious one. I mean, that was absolutely rammed. 10K was relatively busy. Half marathon a little bit quieter. By the time we got to the marathon, like 6 people were doing it.
Yeah.
3 years later now, the marathon is huge. The half marathon probably is big. The 10K was our largest in terms of popularity for a distance, and then the 5K was actually one of the quieter ones. So I think the approach now, the view on these distances is not to go into everything thinking I need to match pace and run quicker. I think it's a case of I can enjoy these distances but run at a slower pace if I wish to, but I can also do it with people because more are invested in it now. And I'm loving seeing that transition within this sport, how it is becoming far more invested with so many more different demographics.
100%. I mean, it's a really sociable sport. You may think that Ironman triathlon, I mean, you're racing by yourself, you're 9-10 hours, whatever, by yourself out there alone. But I train 10 times better in a swimming pool with the swim squad. Bike rides, like 4 hours in winter in the British weather. I mean, that's by yourself. You're gonna go crazy if you don't do that with 3 mates or whatever and stop off the cafe. Same with running. I mean, it's just, it goes so much quicker, it's so much more enjoyable, and you feel so much better about doing it with other people. And I do the majority of my training with other people, and it's amazing to see that. I run with my girlfriend, who may have only recently come into running, but it doesn't matter. I'm not running every run to go as fast as I can. She's not going every run as fast as she can. It's just like sharing that experience with people around you is just amazing.
In terms of the Ironman side of things, You know, what are realistic ambitions with something like that? Because obviously with your professional card, you know, you can compete now at the highest level.
Mm-hmm.
If you realistically, you're going to be studying medicine now for another, is it 5 years?
Yeah, so I've just finished my second year, so I've got 3 more years, but I'm probably going to take a year out and do.
So you've still got quite a long time for the medical side of things to slow down. You know, do you feel like by biding your time in that space, I guess it just better prepares you physically and mentally for the Ironman when you want to focus your attention? Or do you see that opportunity whilst the body's young and fresh slipping away?
No, I definitely think it's doable. I mean, so with the professional license, there's a distinction between short course, which is sprint, and Olympic, where you saw Alex, you do Olympic, where it's draft legal on the bike. So it's actually a very different sport to draft illegal half Ironmans and full Ironmans, and now a new distance, which is T100. So my license is half Ironmans and full Ironmans, and I've done 1 full Ironman, I've done 3 half Ironmans, which is where I kind of got my license.
Yeah.
And I think I went into a full Ironman this year, and I think that was quite a lot to take. And I think with the next couple of years, it's going to be more focused on half Ironmans. It's a lot less training, a lot more races you can do, so you get a lot more experience out of that. And I think by focusing on that, I'll be able to hopefully compete at half Ironmans, maybe get to the half Ironman World Championship as a professional, which is obviously quite a bit harder than doing it as an age grouper. And I think that's kind of the goal over the next couple of years, to do races which maybe will build up my confidence and hopefully get me towards getting towards top half, top 3 in a race and stuff. And then from there, going on to try and win smaller races, going to World Championships maybe, and then hopefully going into bigger races. I think focusing on the half Ironman will give me more time and energy to do that alongside medicine, and then develop into a full Ironman distance athlete as well in the end.
How much time can you dedicate to the swimming during the week? Because that's probably going to be one of the most testing.
It is quite tough, and I mean, swimming is the least enjoyable. It is. I tried to convince myself that it's not, because it's my worst and I need to work on it the most, but it's not very fun. Like a lot, obviously I do swim with squads probably 3 or 4 times a week, but I swim 6 or 7 times a week because it's my weakness. And a lot of the time it's just up and down at 25-meter pool, mind-boggling. Like, yeah, it's tough, but 6 or 7 swims a week is effectively what I'm doing at the moment.
6 or 7, so you are realistically getting in the pool every day.
Yeah, 20 to 30k a week in the pool. I mean, it's needed for the swim level I'm at, but.
Is that with the summertime that you have? Because obviously universities have broken up now. Or is that an average that you would also do during university
No, that's
time?
average during university time.
How do you balance cycling and running at the same time as that?
It's a lot of planning. I mean, I really tried to get 1 session done early morning. And I was preclinical year, so I had lectures, so I'd only ever start at 9 a.m. before this year. So I'd always get 1 in before, or tried to get 1 in before. And then I generally average 2 sessions a day, maybe 3 on the weekends and stuff. So the long rides would be on the weekend. The long rides would get Wednesday afternoons off for sport, and then the runs you'd fit in the evenings and stuff. It's tough.
Yeah, I mean, 3 sessions in a day is crazy, and obviously you've got your studies as well. For me, that's.
I don't see it as a chore though. I see it. I love it. I actually love it. Like, I have so much excitement for a ride at the end of the day, even if it is indoors by myself, chuck on a movie maybe, but it makes me feel so good about myself and progressing and getting better every day. I mean, I don't see it as a chore. I love the break from medicine I get in sport. I love the break I get from sport in medicine. And then obviously there's the third part of life. So I haven't really said this, but I like to think of as like assigning my time in 3 kind of domains. So the 3 domains I look at are medicine. So for me, that's my academics. So that could be work or a job as well. Then my sport, which is obviously quite time consuming for me, which is triathlon and Ironmans. And then I look at the third aspect, which is socializing. So spending time with my close friends, my flatmates, medic friends, girlfriend, family, all of that I kind of group in my third aspect. And that is something I love to do. You'd think I'm kind of masochistic, love being by myself, don't really like doing much else. But it couldn't be further from truth. I actually just love spending time with friends and watching the footy, or going out for a dinner date or anything like that. it couldn't be further from the truth that I love doing that. And I think having breaks maybe from medicine and triathlon where I do that, it's just as important.
I think also what's really important to highlight, I think if you look at how fast-paced life probably is for you, I was actually talking to another guest about this where the recovery side of things was really important and just finding that balance. What are your primary focuses when you do want to be able to switch off?
Spending time with loved ones. I think that is the most important thing, even if it is like calling my mum for half an hour. I mean, she's my biggest fan. She loves everything I do, and I love speaking to her about anything under the sun. Do you know what I mean? And that kind of switch off. Okay, I'm not doing Anki flashcards, which is when you just checking all the meds and stuff, or I'm not going 100 miles an hour on a bike or whatever. It's just relax, speak about other things, the news, whatever. It's just that having that switch off is necessary. I mean, you can't be foot on the gas 24/7. I mean, even reading, I often read about medicine or triathlon, but starting to read new things that have nothing to do with that, it's just been really good for kind of winding down before bed and having that downtime.
Would you focus on having a bit of an off season, or are you just consistent throughout the year? Because I think when you look at a full-time professional, no matter what sport you do, there is always going to be at least a month, I would say, where the body and mind can kind of rejuvenate itself. And also for you probably to find your hunger again.
Yeah, off seasons and mid-season breaks and stuff are so valuable. I obviously have quite a lot of stress outside of triathlon as well with medical school exams, and I just knew I needed a break. I mean, it was a lot, and that break came in the form of a bit of traveling, something I've never done before, going somewhere I've never been, with backpacks and stuff with my girlfriend, as I said, to Indonesia for like 3-4 weeks. There was this part of me which was like, all right, this is your chance, just train, race over summer, you'll have amazing results. But it was actually that switch off, reset, and I've come back so hungry. I mean, the training is going so much better now, and I kind of fully came over my injury, full mindset shift, come back, and now I'm ready to go again. I think if I just plogged away through summer, I wouldn't have had that same perspective and reset that I got through that.
Are there any particular races or challenges that you'd love to set yourself?
Yeah, I mean, I love ultra stuff as well. I think I'll go into that in the future, but at the moment I just want to race the big Ironman races. I mean, Kona in Hawaii is where the Ironman World Champs is now every 2 years for men, and that's kind of a massive goal of mine. It's this historic island where the first Ironman ever was made, and to go there would just be amazing. Obviously, financially and time-wise, it's always at the beginning of a medicine school year. It's not been available yet, but to do things like that, I've found a passion for traveling as well, exploring new cultures, going to new places, and I really think triathlon can facilitate that for me, going to different races, whether it be in Asia or Europe or America or, I mean, Africa. I'm hopefully racing in half Ironman South Africa later this year. It's just amazing to be able to explore and do what you love by exploring, and hopefully being paid for to do these things.
Yeah, and I mean, you're such a young adult right now. I mean, you're only 20 years of age. Mm-hmm. I'd love to know from like a nutritional point of view, is your nutritional plan tailored? Is it very specific for you right now? Because, you know, your body is still growing.
Yeah.
You know, do you have to take that into account? I mean, you don't have like the largest frame, which, do you think that works in your favor or against you?
Triathlon's quite a varied body type place. It's really weird because swimmers, you have these massive upper bodies. Cyclists, you've got these big legs, tiny upper body, and runners, you're generally quite, you're breaking the stereotype, but like professional marathon runners are very, very slim and stuff. So it kind of facilitates for you to have a body type which you can make work. I mean, for me, I found being at like a lighter weight means I race quite well, but I have to eat so much. I mean, it's so important when you're burning X amount of calories a day to just refuel yourself. Nutritionally good. I mean, you try and get as many vegetables, fruit, protein and stuff in as you can, but more importantly than that is the calories. I mean, if you're in an energy deficit and you're trying to turn up and train as hard as you need to and then go to medicine, university, go on the hospital wards, if you're not fueling yourself right, it's so easy to get that wrong.
What would be the calorie count for you right now? Like say on like a typical day and then on a day where you're competing.
So on a typical day, I reckon I have 2 to 3 hours of training a day, and I reckon I'm probably eating 5,000 calories a day maybe.
And how do you achieve that? Is that all pretty clean, or have you got to try and include some more calorie dense, I guess, foods in there that aren't necessarily the healthiest?
Definitely some calorie dense foods that are definitely not the healthiest, but that's necessary. I mean, you can't have 5,000 calories worth of salads in a day, especially when you're cooking for yourself at university. I generally tried to have 3 good meals with fruit, vegetables, good carbs and proteins, and then on top of that it's lots of cereal and nuts and fruits and stuff like that, which is still good, but sometimes at the end of the day where I've not eaten as much as I've done a 5-hour ride, I'll just get some ice cream and it's not, that's actually sometimes needed.
That'd be the go-to then, so things like ice cream, pizza.
Yeah, pizza as an endurance athlete is like, obviously it's got more oil than you think or whatever, but it's really good. Like, you need the carbs for the next day of training and to recover all your glycogen stores which have been lost. It's a really difficult thing to get right, but it's so easy to get wrong. And something I've learned is that if you're not eating enough, you're not going to perform at all. Like, that's the first thing that you need to get right.
Yeah, I mean that's always been one of my biggest challenges is in the beginning. You know, Reese and my team know this so well. I mean, for some reason, it would substantially suppress my appetite. So when I'm doing these ultra distances and I'm not fueling the body, it really just came down to my mental. You know, I guess I'd almost, the adaptation to experiencing that so many times, I just somehow managed to get myself kind of through it each and every time. And it kind of got to the point with the 76 that you joined me where it just wasn't going to work. Like, I had to try and get foods into me. And to be honest with you, like, I think the most common thing that we probably would try go for, because it was quite accessible, was just a Domino's. You know, the Mighty Meter, whatever it was called, was like 2,800 calories, and I'd get that in me, and that, you know, that made up for the multiple thousand calories I was probably losing every day. I mean, I still lost, you know, substantial weight, but not as much as I ordinarily would have done. And I think food now is something that I definitely prioritize. I mean, you can so easily go into the gym or go onto the road or even within the water and absolutely beat and break yourself. But, you know, if you're not nutritionally setting yourself up, your recovery in itself is going to be so heavily affected. Things like sleep, water, how much are you drinking each day? You know, for me, I got to a point where I was barely drinking a litre of water, and I can notice such a difference to my system and myself when I drink, I'd say, a minimum of like 3.
Yeah, 100%. I think the 3 things you've got to get right are hydration, food, and sleep. And with balancing other stuff in life, it is really hard to get right. I mean, there's not that much time in the day to go to the shops or to cook for 2 hours or to even get 8 hours of sleep sometimes. But just putting in systems so that, you know, you go to bed at 11 and wake up at 7 to swim, or you have meal prepped all your dinners for the week on a Sunday evening. Having those systems in place means that is switched off during the week. You don't have to think about going to, I need to go grab something from the shop. It's, okay, I've got everything ready. I've set myself up for the week correctly. I can then get in enough food, the right foods, and then get enough sleep because I have the time to do that. So just setting yourself up is so important.
When you kind of reflect at such a young age of everything that you sort of achieved to this point, what's the one major thing that you would say makes you the most proud?
I think just the fact that I'm keeping the same person. I've not changed at all. I'm still, like all my friends, I hope would say that I'm a nice guy and I'm very down to earth and I have high aspirations and I'm trying to do these amazing things, but I don't think of myself as any different to anybody else.
Oh mate, I'm so proud of you, and it's been so special having you come into the studio today. And for anybody that has not heard of you and are going to hopefully be deeply invested into your journey, where can they find you?
So I mainly show my journey on Instagram. My Instagram is Matt Kaminer _triathlon, and I'm just trying to portray my journey through medicine, through triathlon. I do a lot of like how I strength train and day in the lives and stuff. And I'm trying to get into more of the speaking to the camera and just saying things honestly and about my nutrition and stuff. Trying to help others as well as trying to promote myself and hopefully get sponsorships as well. There's so much opportunity for me in sharing my journey, my unique journey of trying to do 2 difficult things at once. And I hope that I can help people in the process.
Maybe it's unfair of me to ask this, but I think sometimes in these episodes, you know, you're almost documenting a piece of history. I have absolutely I have so much faith in you in what the future brings. Would you like to share with myself and with anybody that's listening right now? I kind of want you to project how you see the future, in the sense that, like, what's the one major thing that you believe that you're going to achieve?
I believe I'll go to the Ironman World Champs as a professional athlete and compete. May not win. I think that is something that some people have that I may not have. Hopefully, I'll try the best I physically can to get to that point. I want to go to the Ironman World Champs. That's one goal. And then the other goal is to be a doctor, and to be a bloody good one. I want to succeed. I want to be something in the sports medicine world, hopefully. Two big goals of mine, and I'm saying that now. It kind of makes me a bit jittery to say it, and I've never really said that out loud. But those are my two big goals: triathlon, medicine, and then the amazing things that I want to pursue with my social life, girlfriend, and everything like that.
I feel like people come into your life at a certain time, and I think it was meant to be, you joining me that day, and we had such a good conversation, and you have such an infectious personality, and it's been so nice that we've been able to reconnect, and I really am looking forward to seeing your journey unfold. And it's so special when you can see someone fulfill their dreams. No matter how many years that's going to take for you to get there, I believe entirely that you will. And you know what? If you do qualify for those world champs, I'll make it known now on the podcast that I'll come and watch you.
Oh, unreal. Kona, big trip.
You have my words, mate. Big love. It's not even wishing you luck, because you don't need it. Again, I think you have all the tools, and just make sure you make the most of every opportunity. At the age you're at right now, you're going to have so many people that won't understand the passions that you have and the commitment that you put to it. As long as you feel fulfilled, that is honestly the most important thing. And I think the right people eventually will surround themselves, around you.
Means so much to hear. Thank you so much.
Big love, brother.
Really appreciate it.
Yeah.
You.
If you enjoyed today's podcast, you fatted biscuit, all I ask of you in return is that you push that subscribe button and leave a review. Unless it's a bad one, you can keep that, your sausage. Your support, though, makes such a difference to this podcast and enables it to grow and connect with even more people around the world.